From dating to relationships, from sex to love, from Christianity to politics, from darkness to light, you have now entered into the real zone. Welcome to Conversations with Trent, where no topic of conversation is safe from discussion. Now, here he is, Mr. Epic himself, Trent Williams.
Somebody gon' get to tell them that I'm coming. You can tell them that I'm coming. Tell them that I'm coming. Somebody tell the world that I'm coming. I'm trying to tell the world that I'm coming. Tell them that I'm coming. Somebody tell the world that I'm coming. Somebody tell the world that I'm coming.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to a special edition of Conversation with Trent and Friends. We got a good one here tonight. We're talking about actually I'm gonna get a little transparent tonight and brought along Shannon to get a little transparent with me. So we're talking about the unveiling of the journey to healing with this recovery. As you guys, most of you guys know that I'm recovering from a bleed on the brain, which led to a stroke and whatnot. We're going to be talking about that. And I brought Shannon along because she's been on that journey with me. I met Shannon when I was bedridden. We're still friends to this day. So 5 years ago. So 1 second, let's bring her in. Let's get this thing started. Hey, what's going on?
Good evening. Okay, you got me out here in the middle of the week on hump day.
Hey, man, gotta get it. I appreciate you coming through and sharing the microphone.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Everything's good. You good? Everything good with you?
I feel like there's a delay.
Nah, I can hear you fine.
No, everything's fine. I feel like there's a delay.
No.
Okay.
Everything good.
All right. Maybe it's good. All right. No problem.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
Yeah, cool. I appreciate you coming through so we could actually.
No. Okay. Well. Thank you for having me.
Good stuff. Wanted to talk about this recovery, man, and it's very important to me. I actually wrote a book on the recovery while I'm still in recovery. I thought it was very important to show people this side of the recovery. I actually I got a text from you when Jamie Foxx did his whole special, whatever it is, and he kept on saying medical emergency. And that kind of rubbed me kind of differently.
Mm-hmm.
Like medical emergency, say what it is. This is life. It was a stroke. It was a bleed. That's exactly what it is. And me personally, saying medical emergency and all that stuff, it kind of lightens it. That's a serious situation. That's a serious situation. And it is what it is. It's a stroke. And I was inclined to do this special and talk about my personal journey. So here we go.
Okay. Well, I think it's very brave of you to come out and want to speak so candidly about it, even though you have written a book about the journey that you had in the process. So it's very interesting. I'm kind of wondering, what were your thoughts when the special actually came out and you heard him tell his story about his experience and what he went through?
I hadn't planned on watching it, but when you text me and then Brandy texted me, I was like, let me go ahead and check this thing out. But once I got into it, it was funny. It was emotional. It was a good piece. It was put together. It was a good piece. But I would have enjoyed it more if he focused on, giving out information, not telling his personal business, but, just talk a little more about the stroke itself. It was funny. It was cool. for entertainment. But when you have a life altering event like that take place in your life, where you literally have a bleed on the brain, everything stops in your body, everything, your limbs, everything. You black out, everything. So I think he could have won. But hey, that's his thing. That's his journey and what have you. But it was cool. It was entertaining. It was cool.
Okay. I feel, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, and I know how you feel about technical issues, but there's a delay, and I don't know if it's my connection where it keeps freezing up, but I'm gonna drop real quick, and I'm gonna connect back on my mobile. Okay.
That's cool. We'll take a commercial break real quick.
All right.
We'll be right back, folks.
Somebody gon' get to tell them that I'm coming. And you can tell them that I'm coming. Tell them that I'm coming. Somebody tell the world that I'm coming. I'm trying to tell the world that I'm coming. Tell them that I'm coming. Somebody tell the world that I'm coming. Somebody tell the world that I'm coming.
Okay, I didn't expect to be that quick, but hey, good stuff.
Hey, I try not to hold up the process too much. I'm sorry, just trying to make sure that I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's my device or if it's just the connection in general. So you were talking about what your thoughts were, or what came to mind when you first saw the special, and just can you repeat real quick what you said you wish you would have maybe focused more on?
Yeah, it was entertaining. It was very entertaining. It was very emotional. I found myself as I was watching him thinking back to my journey and thinking about
Mhm.
all the things that I went through, all those steps. It wasn't a cakewalk like he presented it to be. It wasn't a cakewalk like that. From the rehabilitation center, and I stayed in the rehabilitation center a very long time. So, I got grade A, assistance. And it was similar because I was brought to a different facility, from the other hospital that I was in. I was actually, my insurance brought me over to a major facility who actually specializes in that type of care.
Mhm.
So it's kind of similar, but it was entertaining. Again, like I said, emotional. But I would appreciate if he would have spoke more on the stroke and not just a medical emergency. You know what I'm saying? Because when you talk about, a stroke, that is serious. When you
Mhm.
have a bleed on the brain, everything stops. Every limb, every nerve, everything throughout your body. It stops. That's a serious situation. So it's just not a medical emergency. No, that's life threatening. Period.
So, and I don't know that I've ever heard you really go into great detail publicly, like on the show, or in regards to exactly what happened. But what
Mhm.
was the last thing you remember before basically waking up in the hospital, or coming to full consciousness in the hospital?
The last thing I remember was I was at an ex-girlfriend's. We had took a ride for the evening and hanging out, and got back to her place. Thank God, because I was at home alone. So
Hmm.
got back to her place and had a couple of glasses of wine and whatnot, and just cooled out. I remember going to the restroom and blacked out.
Wow.
And I remember her finding me on the floor. I remember looking up at her, and it was weird because as I'm looking up at her, I could see myself on the ground. My
Wow.
limbs wasn't working. So yeah.
And so what's the next thing you remember after that? Did you lose time, so to speak, as he mentioned? Was
I
that part
did.
of the experience?
I
Okay.
did. I was actually I don't even remember the hospital that I was taken from and brought to the rehabilitation center.
Mm.
Um, Things started coming back clear when I was actually in the rehabilitation center. Like the rehabilitation center is set up where it's almost like an apartment complex. it's a whole facility. And
Mhm.
I remember having a great view and whatnot.
So,
So
so so in the rehabilitation centers, if we can go back, let's say to when you actually woke up and you were aware, you were able to be aware and understand certain things. What went through your mind when you were when the doctors explained to you what you had experienced and what had happened?
honestly, I was very calm and took the information in, and it was calm. But the first person I thought about was my mother.
Oh,
Yeah, first
why
person.
your mother?
6 months before that, my mother passed away unexpectedly. So, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then two
So
months, 10 days before that, my brother passed. So it was
that's
a series of things that took place during that time.
and when you were told what had happened and your diagnosis and maybe what to expect, so to speak, as far as what your life would look like moving forward, what did you immediately think then? What did they? Well, let's go back. What did they tell you? What
Well,
did
he
they tell
said I
you
had
life would be like?
I had a bleed on the brain. I probably wouldn't be able to walk again, and that I would need, you know, 24-hour care and what have you. And as this guy was prescribing all this stuff to me and wheelchairs and walkers and stuff like that, the first thing came to my mind was, you got to be giving that shit to somebody else because that's not for me. So, and I told him that, and he was like, "Nah, you're gonna need this stuff when you leave this place." I say, "But not for long. I'm not gonna need that for long." So he was like, I like your spirit. I was like, I said, I tell you what, when I start walking again, because he's a runner. We got to know
Hmm.
each other. It's my neurologist. I said, when I start walking again, I'm gonna challenge you to a race. He said, I don't know how you're gonna do that. I said, I'm gonna challenge you to a race. But yeah, I didn't take that in. Everything that he told me, give me the
Hmm.
paralysis, stuff like that. I never envisioned myself in a wheelchair. I never envisioned myself walking on a walker and with assistance and all that. I never envisioned that.
That's interesting. So you had that type of mindset even from the very beginning before
Yeah,
that this wasn't going to be your life and you weren't going
at
to.
all.
This is
I
not
never
going to be.
accept
Wasn't going to be how your story ended.
that, not at all. And I wouldn't say I was in denial. I wasn't in denial at all. It was just said, hey, that's not me, and I'm not gonna let this beat me. And I did feel like my back was against the wall because my mother was gone and my closest confidant was gone who would actually be there to assist me. I felt like my back was against the wall, but I wasn't giving in. So that kind of fueled my fire that they weren't there.
Mm,
Kind of fueled my
interesting.
fire that they weren't there. So
So and so it's interesting because I think it's, just from me knowing you and, I call it a lot of times, that this ego that you have and that sometimes you need to operate with a little bit more humility, which I still believe in certain instances and situations and whatnot.
right.
However, it seems that this level of confidence in yourself and your ability to kind of will certain things for yourself really paid off in this process for you.
Yeah, I speak about that in the recovery book, man. You have to have a certain type of mindset when you're facing that type of mountain. You have to.
Mhm.
And thank God I was blessed with confidence and I just tackled it, man. I wasn't running from the pain. I ran toward it. I ran toward the further I ran toward it, the more energy it gave me to fight this thing. So, you have to have some type of confidence to walk around with the partially paralyzed arm and leg, partially blind. I didn't see myself that way, and I didn't want anyone to do the woe is me or anything like that. Just, hey, direct me where I need to go. I'll take it from there. And I think that, it's very important for people with different abilities to know that. Like life doesn't end when you lose a limb. Life doesn't end when you lose your sight. You just got to dig in and dig a little deeper and get it going. Life doesn't. It's just the beginning.
So this is a mindset that you had prior to this. It would seem, how, like, where does that come from? Where do you even know or remember? Like, it seems like you've always had that level of
Yeah.
self confidence in yourself.
My parents instilled that in me as a young
Mhm.
kid. They coined me my nickname in the household was the General. I was the youngest of 4 boys, and I never understood why they called me G. And my mother was like, "Well, we called you G for General because you pretty much ran
Oh.
the house." Like, wow, that's interesting. So, and my father always gave me a voice. When it was time for spankings and stuff like that. You can imagine what it's like with 4 boys in the home.
Mhm.
4 young boys in the house, like stair steps. And he would always get me to go in and litigate for my brothers. Like, why shouldn't they get a whooping? So I would have to plead the case on why they shouldn't get any whoopings or anything like that. And most of the time, they didn't get it because I was pretty good at litigating their case.
Sidetrack, Harold. How did that go over with your brothers, being that they're all older than you?
The only one that would do pushback was Torrance. So, Alvin was the oldest, and Greg was the second to the oldest. But Greg acted like the oldest, and
Mm.
Greg acted more like a protector to me since I was a child. But the only one gave pushback, and still to this day gives pushback. But he knows who's the boss. Torrance.
Wow.
Torrance would do that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So getting back to your recovering, and you've been, let's see, you hear what your diagnosis is, what the doctors or medical professionals are saying your future is going to look like, and you saying that it's not. Let's talk about once you got to the rehab center, kind of what your life looked like there, and how long you were actually there before you were able to go home.
It was actually good. It was the rehabilitation was fairly new. It was like maybe 3, 4 months. It was a brand new facility that they built. Oshner Medical Fitness Center and the rehabilitation center. I mean, it was phenomenal. Phenomenal. It's set up like little apartments. You have your own space, and there's a gym on your level, and they come and get you every single morning, getting you dressed. Um, you're going to speech, speech therapy, physical therapy and occupational therapy and whatnot. It's a daily routine. And I had a wonderful, wonderful medical team. I still have some of those folks on my team. And it's been 5 years. But I was, resistant at first because I was still stubborn. But there was this one physical therapist. Her name was Jenny. She was a young girl named Jenny. And she was tough as nails. I didn't want her tying my shoes because you had to get you fully dressed. They had to bathe you, everything. I didn't want none of that shit. But I didn't have an option.
I'm about to say, how did that go over? You talking about you didn't
She,
want
she
it?
would she would ignore me most of the time. She would ignore me. She would ignore me most of the time, and just I couldn't move. So the only way I would get out of the bed was she would take me out of the bed, put me in a chair, dress me, get the shower first, then dress me and all that stuff. And it was kind of weird having a woman dress me,
Mm-hmm.
but she was like, either you're gonna go down there naked or I'm gonna put your gym clothes on. What you want to do?
How did that impact or affect you, just as a male, and not and or just as a man, not being able to just do basic things for yourself and having to depend or allow someone else to do it?
I did more pushback for I'm gonna do it myself. And
Mm-hmm.
she was so good at what she do. She was like, let me see you try it.
Mm.
That's how she would challenge me. Let me see you try it. So when I get stuck on a certain thing of putting the shirt on or trying to bend down and put a sock on, I couldn't move. She's like, see, I told you. You might as well let me work with you. We're a team. And that's how we got through it. But I would push back on her every single day. Every
Now,
single day.
when you're going through through your rehab and through physical therapy, so specifically, was there any point when you were going through that and you weren't seeing the results maybe as quickly as you wanted to, as far as being able to walk freely on your own? That did you ever have any periods of where you just kind of some discouragement set in, and you know
I would get frustrated at certain things, but I've been meditating a very long time. So I've practiced patience a very long time. So I had a lot of patience with myself. And for those who are actually going to listen to this program with different abilities and they're going through a situation like that, partially paralyzed, it's important and it's imperative that you have patience with yourself first. You must practice patience with yourself because you're gonna get some frustrating times, man. You can't tie that shoe. You can't put that shirt on the way you normally would do it. You got to do things differently. That's why I call it a different ability. So you have to have patience.
so do you attribute your practice of meditation to really helping you build a certain level of patience through this process?
Yeah, the majority of it in early stages of the recovery because you have to have patience, man, because that arm's not going to move like you normally accustomed to it moving. That sight is not there. Like I was literally blind on my left side. So I would actually eat my food and I'm thinking I'm done. So I'd have my nurse or my assistant come in and she was like, you didn't finish all your food. I said, what are you talking about? This plate's clean. It's like, no, it's not. So they would move the plate to my right. I was like, damn, I didn't see all that.
And
So
how long were you with that full vision?
probably about 6 months. About 6 months. About 6 months. And that's
And
why,
so
man, it was so important for me to write this book because I can only imagine what people who don't do research, they don't know that there's life after this thing, man. There's more life to be lived and there's more things to be done. So I touch on a variety of topics within this book, all the way down to having a dog and a dog assisting you and having a pet, having a pet. So I talk about a lot of that. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, you're fine. I wanted you mentioned about researching. What is touch on that, and what you meant as far as when you talking about the research you did, or that someone should or that people should be doing when they
Well,
go through these type of experiences.
especially in the African American community, they don't tell us a lot. I was
Hmm.
fortunate to have a neurologist who was actually black. And they don't tell us a lot. They really don't give us a lot of information. So this was at the very beginning of COVID when this took place, right? We didn't even know that COVID was around. Nothing. The doctors didn't know. I was in the midst of all this stuff. When I fell ill, it was the day after Kobe died. That's the day that I can actually. That's how I remember the day that it took place. The
Hmm.
26th is what happened to me. Actually, 5 years ago, 26. So of January. Um, so I had to do a lot of research on my own because they weren't giving me the information. So I still had my phone and I had my phone working on it. The little bit I could see, I would actually research the process of a stroke, um, everything. They were focused on one thing in particular that caught my attention. They were focused on 6 months. 6 months are very important. Yes, it's very important, but it don't tell you that it's a continuous thing. It's just not the 6 months, the first 6 months. Like I'm 5 years in, things are still coming back on me. Things that they say wouldn't come back. I had no idea what medical fitness was. I had no idea what post rehabilitation was. And I talk about all that in the recovery book. There's such a thing called post rehabilitation. That's after physical therapy and occupational therapy. I
And
didn't
so,
I didn't know those things.
so how long were you actually in the rehab facility, and at what point or what progress had you made for them to allow you to actually leave to go home?
Um, it was I can't remember that time. I'm sorry, I can't remember how long I was there. I can't.
Okay, it's
I
okay.
can't. I can't remember that. But it took me a while. It took me a while, and I used to tell them all the time when I was there, I was like, I'm gonna walk out those doors. They would be encouraged that that's a good goal to make, reach and whatnot. I said I'm gonna walk out the doors when I leave here. So I was still in the wheelchair, but I stood up out of the wheelchair to get into the car to leave the facility.
Okay, so going home, what did life look like for you as far as your support,
Now,
things you had to do to kind of stay consistent on some type of rehabbing yourself daily?
as far as as far as I had nobody to go home to, so my ex girlfriend took me with her. Like no one was at my house. My mother was gone, my brother was gone, and my other two brothers. Uh, you know, it just didn't happen like that right away because everybody was still in actually. As I think about it, um, with my mother passing 6 months after this, 6 months before this happened to me, and
Hmm.
my brother 2 months and 10 days. Everybody was in some trauma, man. They were dealing with
Right.
their own grief and didn't know how to handle me being, paralyzed. So I had nobody. I had nobody to look after me and take care of me. And thank God I was still on, decent terms with my ex-girlfriend. And she took care of me and whatnot, but I had nobody to go to. And that's what it's more important. I talk about that in the book as well, talking about the importance of support, a loving
Hmm.
support system. You know, a lot of people don't realize that, support goes a long way. It doesn't have to mean monetary things. Everything was
Right.
good with me monetary wise, but support, having someone there to say, "Hey, I'm here for you." You know, when you can't get up and go to the bathroom yourself, when you can't feed yourself, when you can't bathe yourself, that's very important to have somebody there, somebody loving, taking care of you until you could do it yourself.
Right. So as far as having support system, because um, I mean, I know at some point in time things did not stay in good terms with you and your ex girlfriend, and there was a point in time where we went home to your own home.
Correct.
So how did you content? Like, where did the next step in your support system come from? How did you maneuver through that transition?
Through research, and I found this place where I could actually have someone come to my house. I could have a worker coming to my house. Just through this research, my insurance company didn't tell me that I could actually contract a
Mm.
company to have someone in the home come to the home and do the things that I can't do. And one
Right.
thing is, I knew nothing about waivers. I knew nothing about any of that stuff. So I got the waiver and I own the contract to my worker. And I chose for myself who I wanted around me. Now, mind you, that was at the height of COVID, and I wasn't trusting anyone. So it had to be someone that I could actually get in that I want to interview, that I
Mm.
want to do. I don't want no random person in my home. But I had no idea. But through the research, I acquired the waiver and I hired the company to come in and do what they got to do. And I asked them, "Hey, I'll give you the contract if you hire this person. She's already been interviewed by me."
Yeah, I think, it's very important for people to remember, and I like that you said about doing the research, because a lot of times we don't know what we're entitled to and what we're
Exactly.
actually paying for and what benefits we're supposed to have with these insurance companies.
Exactly.
Um, so it is important to make sure that, you do research what your
Very well.
benefits
It got to be
are.
very well. And mind you, this is before I filed for disability.
Hmm.
All this stuff was through my insurance. So, and you guys got to read the fine print when you talk about insurance. All
Right.
that stuff is within your insurance, man. That's something that they have to honor. That's what you're paying to that insurance for,
Hmm.
you know? So, doing the research and, having my back up against the wall, I had to. I had no other choice because there was no one there to do it for me. I had to do it.
So how did you, what did that feel like literally when you when you went home and to your home, right? And your family, your immediate family is not there, right? Meaning you and your brothers aren't interacting the way that you would, that you would have wanted them to at that point in time to give you support. Like, how did you feel? Like, where were you mentally, just there, being there by yourself?
Honestly, it gave me strength because I felt my mother's spirit was still here in this home. It gave me so much strength because when I got home, I really wanted to be home because I knew once I got home I was gonna be okay. That was my solace, man. That
Hmm.
was my serenity. So it gave me calmness and strength at the same time. I knew once I
Yeah.
got to my surroundings, I knew how to maneuver around that.
So, I mean, I do have to kind of give you your props on that, because I think mentally and emotionally I could have broke a lot of people.
I appreciate that.
Not having, I want one, not only dealing with the medical condition and the whole experience and journey there, but also you were still at a point too where you were actually still grieving the loss of two immediate family members, between your brother and then your mother.
Yeah.
So, I- like, I'm honestly, I've never really thought of this as long as I've known you, but I'm like in amazement that your mental capacity stayed intact,
I appreciate
the way that you're just describing it. Um, because I remember when I first met you, and correction, you weren't completely, it's not that you were bedridden. You were not as mobile. You were still, you weren't in the wheelchair, but you weren't really walking that well,
that. Okay.
unassisted, I'll say,
Right.
or standing for long periods of time.
Mhm.
Um, but you're definitely, even from then when you and I met, it's 1,000% difference in
Between now?
your recovery and your abilities at this
Mhm.
point, from where you were then.
Yeah. Yeah, and that that's contributed to consistently working out. I have a regimen that I've been following for the last 5 years. And medical fitness is very extremely important. And as you know, yoga is extremely one of my top priorities. You know, centering yourself while you're in a situation like this. When they first introduced me to yoga, I was still in the wheelchair. I'm like,
Hmm.
man, this is asinine. This is not gonna work. I was
I
wrong.
remember.
You remember that? I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't
I
want to do it.
remember.
I don't want to do that shit because it's not gonna work. But I was wrong. I was wrong. Yoga's my favorite thing to do every week.
Yeah.
So it saved my life, man. I always felt like I was centered, but yoga really centered me, on this journey. And everything I deal with, I deal with it with grace and patience, and it's good. And the second thing, the best thing that came into my life was um, when I first got home. And like I told you, I had a dog, Hannibal, and Taurus and I were still at odds. And when I got home, Hannibal was gone. That kind of bothered me. That kind of bothered me. And something that you suggested, I'll always be grateful to you for that. He was like, you need a companion. You can't just be there by yourself like that. You brought into my life such a bright light in Kobe, to where Kobe works out with me in the afternoons after I get to the gym. We do the workout after the workout with the
Hmm.
cardio, and he's trained to, tighten the leash up when I'm walking. If I get a little slack, he'll tighten it up, and that's the bright spot of my day. Coming home and he's here, so I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I should bill you for that, though. I really should.
I'll knock it off. Now, as you can see, Kobe in the background. He should be laying on the bed over there
I
doing
know,
something.
like he did a long day of work then.
Yeah, like he did a 16-hour shift.
I know.
Yeah, but I also talk about the importance of having an animal, a pet in the home, going through the recovery. All the stuff that I thought was crazy,
Hmm.
It's really, that's where it's at. So I dedicated a chapter in the book to Kobe and all the help that it,
What
yeah, that's my buddy, man.
is it? What's the title? Is it titled Kobe?
Not, I don't think I titled the code. Let me look at it real quick. Let's see.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Well,
I talk about the importance of it. The benefits of having a dog when you have a disability. So I talk about the difference of, what's the importance of it. I talk about how it's man's best friend. It's a good reason that dog is man's best friend. He provides companionship, unconditional love, and support. Like I tell you why with I stress support. One day I got a wild hair up my ass, and I said, you know what, I want to get in the tub. And you've been there where you see the bench and all that stuff.
mm-hmm.
So I took the bench out. I got in the tub and I couldn't get out. So, with Kobe's trained to, like, wherever I go, he's gonna come. So if I'm in the bathroom, he's laying on the floor. He will not let me close the door. He'll scratch until he gets in. Whatever I'm doing, I kept from going to the toilet or whatever. He's in there. So I get down the tub. He's looking at me like, now you're not supposed to be doing this. Like I'm moving the chair out of the bench out of there and everything. So I get down and as you know, I got that deep garden tub, a jacuzzi tub. I just wanted to take a jacuzzi bath, man. And I couldn't get out. So when I was struggling to get out, I was like, Kobe. So he comes and he jumped in there with me. I grabbed his leash and he backed out, got me out of the tub. So that's the most important thing, and support. They really support you when they know exactly what's going on with your condition. Like he's always favoring my left side. So he'll lay on my left side in the bed just to make, like, if I'm aching, he knows, he senses when I'm aching.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very important. Very important.
Well done, Kobe. I'm super proud of you, but
Absolutely. Absolutely.
that's my baby boy. I don't have any biological human son, so that's my son.
Well, he definitely acts human, I tell you that much.
I know he does. I know he does. All right, so let's fast forward just a little bit and let's talk about, because you know what I was thinking about, not too long after we first met, because you weren't doing the podcast, you weren't like out there in public like you were before,
No,
right?
no.
Because before you had been touring and speaking and having speaking engagements and podcasting and whatnot. But what was that like to not do that, during that period of time?
Yeah, it was different. It was different for me, but I got to be honest with you. Pride still was in me, and a couple of people suggested I should do that, and I was like, "Nah, I'm not doing that shit." Like, this arm doesn't work, and I could barely see, and I'm not doing that. But as you know, but you're the one that actually encouraged me to do that. But it was different, not being able to travel and speak, like not being able to go to the Bahamas and speak, or Jamaica, or across the U.S. It was different. It was different, very different.
And so the first show that you went, you did actually, you were still kind of fresh. I think probably maybe a year out, so to speak.
Yeah, it was about a year out. Yeah.
A year out. What was that feeling like for you?
It was weird because it was different because I was more conscious of why I don't want, if I get a spasm, I don't want people to see the droop in my lip, or my slurring my words or anything. So I was very conscious of that stuff, right? And it was different. It was different. Proud at the same time that I got through it, but it was different. I was aching like hell sitting in that chair and whatnot,
Yeah.
but I fought through it. So
When I'm thinking back now that we're even talking about it, and that was a spot you did on you were a guest on someone else's show.
Yeah.
If you think about it, it wasn't that long of a time gap before you actually started back up with your own show.
Wait, one more time.
I know I'm just thinking that, and it just goes to kind of the discipline that you had and consistency in your own recovery. So from the time that you actually went on that show, that first one, to
Yeah.
the time that you actually started back up with your own podcast, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Was
here's
not
the
that
thing,
long.
though.
I don't even think it was 6 months, because
About
you were
six
actually
months.
doing the show. You were doing the show with the butterfly with Tammy
Yeah. That's a good friend of
already.
mine out of Memphis. Yeah.
Right. And then we started doing the show um with Tammy, and then back then I think it was Nick was the other person. But I
Mhm.
don't even think it was 6 months later. So I mean that just speaks volumes to the
Yeah,
hard
but you,
work that you put into your own recovery, that you were able to even start your business back up. So with and put on a week. Actually, back then we were doing the show 2 days a week. So
yeah.
to put on
But I
a
have
show
to
two
tell
days
you,
a week.
though, I have to tell you, and I keep on resorting back to the book as you talk. Um, I talk about the importance of a great support system and people speaking life into you. And Shan, I got to be honest with you, you spoke life into me. So I was kind of reluctant, man. Even after I did that interview, I wasn't really wanting to do that no more. But you
Mm,
would encourage me. He was like, "You don't want to do that? Oh, you don't want to do that?" And you know, you FaceTiming me, picking out suits and stuff like that. It kind of gave me a jolt. I was like, "Wow, I really can do this." So somebody thinks I could really do this again, because I got to be honest, man. I'm not perfect. Um, Insecurity had to set in. Insecurity set in because I was like, I can't fit those clothes no more. I can't fit none of the suits this girl's picking out for me. I'm skinny as a bean pole, and this is not gonna work. And but you
mm.
continuously spoke life into me. So that's why I was like, you know what? Let me reopen Taylor Kennedy and get this thing on and popping again. So
Yeah, you did. You were a pain in the butt at times, but yeah, I would say, and when you talk about support system, it is really important, because in your condition, or anybody who goes through this kind of similar situation in which you encountered, there can be people that are around you that you think are there for your good, but they're there taking advantage. They can be there taking advantage
exactly,
and taking
exactly.
advantage of your condition.
And I got to tell you, man, and that's true. Actually, my the first lady I hired, she was stealing time and whatnot. And when you're in that condition and you don't have a large support system, you're gonna gravitate to what you have there. So I'm
Hmm.
paying her and she's stealing time. And thank God, like, everything happens for a reason, man. And you were heavy in my life at that time. And he was like, "Who's there with you?" I was like, "Nobody." He was like, "I'm not gonna call her name for, I don't
Right.
want to get sued or anything like that." But he was like, "Who's there with you?" I was like, "Nobody." So where is she? So you would really
I
get on
was.
me, and you would be pissed off. You're like, you can't be by yourself like that. Who's gonna get your food? Who's gonna do this and whatnot? So you were actually the main factor in me firing her. Like, I fired her off of consulting with you. He was like, you probably need to hire somebody else.
Yeah, don't dang, you put that out there like that. I don't keep having that person put no hits out on me, not put no voodoo on me.
It was cool. I had to fire though, but even when you're in a situation like that, you're not thinking, because and this is for my people, with recovery from stroke. You can have some memory loss, and you
Hmm.
can have certain things your brain takes a while to catch up, and that's what was going on with me. I still do brain yoga till this day, because you still once you have a brain injury, you have to work on it. You have to work at it. So when Shannon would actually tell me things that normally I would pick up on, I just wasn't picking up on that this woman was stealing time
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah.
It just didn't register with me. But when she kept on hammering it to me and continuously, hammering it to me, I was like, I better do something about this. But it didn't dawn on me that she was stealing time.
Right. I picked up on that. Like you weren't really comprehending or understanding when
I was
you kind of had to break the whole situation down to you based on what, the ask was of you at that time to do that me to do and what was actually being done by this
exactly.
individual.
And I didn't even realize that I was being left alone until,
Mm-hmm.
until you brought it up to me. Because I was so glad I had somebody there. Even if there was still a time, they would still come and do the things that I
Right.
need done. So I didn't even, it was tough, man. It's very tough. And and this is for the regular viewers here, people who dealing with people with different abilities and they can't do things for themselves. You gotta have a little compassion, man. And you have to
There's
have compassion. It takes a special being to care for a person with a different ability. When a person can't do things for themselves, it's a lot. It's a lot, definitely a lot.
So let's talk about where you kind of are moving forward a little bit about where you are now, and if you're willing to maybe share, the progress that you've made. And we've had conversations because people I think can look at you on the podcast and think that everything is fine with you, that
Everything
you're 100% and all of this other stuff. And sometimes you're a little guilty of that too, as
that's
far
true.
as of leaving that perception out there that you're 100% and with things. And I know that you're not, and some close other close friends or family understand that some of the limitations that you're still working to overcome. But let's talk about where you are now and kind of what your routine is to even 5 years later to still be going through the recovery process.
Yeah, where I'm at now, I'd say around 45, 50%. But don't get it misconstrued. When you're recovering from a bleed on the brain and a stroke, it's continuously. This is a lifestyle at this point. So my daily routine, I get up, meditate, yoga, all this stuff before I leave the house. It's very important that your circulation continues to move. You can't stay stagnant. It's very important. If I could stress that even more, you have to make sure your circulation is constantly flowing, constantly flowing. It's very important. So when you think that, oh well, I've had therapy, I've had occupational therapy, speech therapy, all that stuff is a continuous thing because you get into situations where what's happening right now is spasms, very violent spasms. So you have to continuously stretch and work out. Turn it into a lifestyle, eating habits, everything. So I've turned this thing into a lifestyle. So where they were telling me 6 months was the most important, I
Mhm.
dedicated and committed myself to 7 years. I'm in 5 years. I'm at the fifth year. I dedicated to 7 years. The reason why I say 7 years, I read this book on this young lady who had a similar situation happen, bleed on the brain, a stroke. She's a motivational speaker. I read her book, and her name was Kathy. And she's always talked about the 7 years. So I actually took the 7 years from her. I was like, wow, I'm going to dedicate myself to 7 years.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm looking at, 7 years. So it's not just 6 months and you're done. That's not it. You have to continuously work out, continuously. And there are facilities that accommodate you. It's called medical fitness. You can go to the gym and it's called medical fitness. I do things, the same things that you guys could do. I just do it differently. So but
What
it's a constant every day is a battle. And there's a war inside me every single day with these spasms and making sure the circulation is going. There's a war inside of me every day. Yeah, y'all see me smiling on these podcasts and having fun and all that stuff, but there's a war every single day that I'm battling.
when you say 45 to 45 to 50%? What do you mean by that?
As far as the limbs, the function of my left arm and my
So you
hand, I do. Yeah.
so you're saying you have 45 to 50, let's just be generous, say 50% of normal usage of your left hand or your
I'm gonna
left
say
side
I'm gonna say
arm.
40 to 45.
Really?
Yeah. I work hard at it, man. I work hard at it every day.
I mean, I might have given you a higher percentage range, a higher percentage, but
And the reason why I give myself a lower percentage because of the spasms. Because if I
yeah.
work that hand like I really work it, as you know, you've seen it yourself firsthand.
Mhm.
Like that hand will just not want to do anything. That hand will just lock up. So that's why I say 45%.
Okay. No, that makes sense. And I know that the spasms are challenging, and especially at certain times of the year, they get extremely hard
Exactly.
and challenging for you.
Right,
Um,
right now, I have my flax seed on the hand that's spasming right now. Actually, my great friend, my gym buddy Paula, made
mhm.
this for me. It's flaxseed, and I warm it in the microwave for 2 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
So what's the benefit of the flaxseed?
It pulls out the inflammation, any inflammation that's there in the hand or in the shoulder. I use it for my shoulder, my back, because I have
Did
problems
not
in the
know that.
scapulary. Yeah, yeah. Pulls the
Did not
inflammation.
know that. Well,
Yeah.
shout out to Paula. Thank you, Paula. Learned something new here.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff.
So besides your arm, would you say that your vision is fully back as well on your left side?
Well, I did say I was going to get a little transparent. So after all that took place, once I started going to the eye doctor and all that stuff, because I never wore glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was diagnosed with glaucoma. This is the first time I'm saying this. Well, you knew it, but it's the first time I'm saying it to my audience. I was diagnosed with glaucoma, so I have to get treatment nightly, with drops, and I have to go to the eye doctor every 3 months. So, for the pressure behind the eyeballs. But
Right.
everything's fine. Actually, I saw my eye doctor on yesterday, so everything's sustained. This is cool. And that treatment is actually to slow the process of becoming blind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, anything else that you're still working on?
I'm just working, just working out every day, man, and
So,
working out every day.
I mean, I don't want to share anything you don't want
Nah,
me to share.
nah, go ahead, do your thing. You know me. Go ahead, do
Okay.
your thing.
So because I think it's important, and this is where I say sometimes you're partly at fault for the perception where some of your viewers or some people may think that you're at full capacity, but the
Right.
fact I know you don't want me to call it a cane. You call it, what do you call it? Your walking stick. What is it called? The thing that you have?
I have was a walking stick. I have
Okay,
a
a walking
you,
stick.
you
Because
like
you nearly chopped my head off when I called it a cane. Like, nah,
exactly because ladies and gentlemen, she knows that I don't like the cane or the walker. So I still have those things around here. I have them around here. I have them in all points of the house. I have the canes there. Because to be honest with you, sometimes I forget where I put them. So I put them all over the house. They're all over the house. Kitchen, bathroom, front door, back door, everything. So I have a whole bunch of those. Shout out to my uncle who actually got me a whole bunch of canes. I have a whole bunch of them. I got so many canes I could sell them. But I have a
what are
walking
they?
stick.
Six. I was about to say, okay, because you got on me about that. But the reason I was bringing that up is that that here you are, and this goes to your state of mind as far as the discipline, the
Right.
patience that you spoke about earlier, and
Mhm.
that here we are 5 years later, and we your viewers and the audience or whatnot, or people when they see it's only see you sitting down, right?
Exactly.
They see you in the gym, when you make your post, but not the full scope of what's going on when you're in the gym.
Right. Oh, it's
And
some real stuff getting on in the gym.
I
So
I
y'all just
I
see,
I know.
y'all see this. Everybody, y'all see that the takeouts and all that stuff, but it's some real let's just say what it is. That's some real shit going on over there.
Yeah, we see the coffee, the white mochas, and all that kind of stuff, and the hot tubs and that. But you
Yeah.
know, I think it's important for people to understand and know that there are still um,
There are
limitations that
limitations.
you're still working to
Yeah.
overcome,
I got to
even
tell
5
you, I got
years,
to.
and not get discouraged, but just continue to stay positive and encouraged with the progress,
Exactly.
that you're making.
I got to tell you, I've had a membership at the gym for over 20 years, but when I went back with in this condition, um, my yoga instructor, she was like, you need to get in the pool, but my confidence level wasn't there, and she was
Hmm.
like, you need to get in the pool and get in the cold dipping. You need to get in the hot tub. I said, it wasn't there. So I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it. I mean, she was on me for a few years, but it wasn't until I convinced Alvin, my oldest brother, to join the gym with me.
Hmm.
And the one guy came up, he was like, why are you in the hot tub now? I said, yeah, I got somebody. If I go down, he coming in and get me. So, so he said, what do you mean? I say, all the times you ask me to get in the tub, I wouldn't go because I don't know you like that. But I know him and he gonna come get me if I go down. If I go down, my brother come and get me. So he and I, we spent a lot of time in the hot tub, in the pool, the salted pool, that is. And
Yeah,
yeah, for the people with different abilities who's dealing with muscle repair and all that stuff, salt pools are the best. They call it
really.
aqua. Yeah, yeah, yes, aqua therapy. It's the best. When I tell you the best, best. I feel like Superman when I'm in there.
I will say and you get on. Everybody knows you get on my nerves at times, right?
Yeah.
But I do recognize, that you are mentally strong, like you're a mental fighter. I have not, in all the time that I have known you and seen you go through different things, on different struggles and things of that nature during this journey, I have
Mhm.
never heard you once complain. I've never heard you have a pity party, the woe is me, even at times when you may have struggled to be able to do something, that you did prior to all of this, that you weren't able to fully do now.
You
um
know why? You know why I get that from, Shannon? Took care of my mother for 25 years, and she was badly burned, 52% of her body, and I never saw her complain not one time.
mm,
I took care of her, bathed her, cleaned her, and everything. That lady never complained one time. And once I became partially paralyzed, I was like, if she could have handled that, burned from head to toe without complaining, I could do the same thing. That's
yeah.
why you never hear me complain about anything, because I pulled that strength from my mother. I apologize for I wasn't
No,
expecting
no,
you
no.
to.
I mean, honestly, it just really came to mind and we've never talked about this before, but I have to give you credit where credit is due. And through all of this, I have never once heard you complain about this happening to you. I've
Right.
never heard you complain about how it's changed your life, how life is different for you, the physical limitations that you sometimes have, the pain that you experience at times. I've never heard you complain about it. I've never heard you even be negative about it. And what I have seen is that you turned what would have been what's would be considered a negative situation into a positive, whereas I feel like you've used your this experience,
Yeah.
as a way to, honestly, to really to help others, because not only did you write this book, right, You've, I know, and I don't know if other people know, but you've also helped other people who are going through rehab processes, and
Yeah,
that,
I've
you know, coaching other people, helping them on their journey, their physical rehab journeys and what and such.
yeah, I've worked with stroke patients. I speak to stroke patients all the time, and I don't charge anything for it at all. That's just them doing better is my repayment,
Yeah.
and I wanna share the information that I acquired through experience and research because honestly, man, it's I do this for the culture because they do not share a lot of stuff with us.
Right.
So I do this for the culture. I do this for my people.
I think it was Robin Roberts that I heard, and I love Robin Roberts, but when she talked about making your mess your message, and
Yeah,
that's what I feel like you've done with this situation, with this whole situation, this experience. But
right.
I mean, I'm still just when I'm literally sitting just in shock myself. I'm like, this man has never complained. I've never heard you speak anything, any negatively at all about having had to go through this or having this experience, having a stroke. Just none of it ever,
I also
ever.
speak about that in the book where um, you have to, you know, at some time you have to be your own motivator and you have to speak life. You speak life into yourself. So can you imagine if I complained about things that I couldn't do, how far it would set me back? When you're in a situation
Mhm.
like this and when you're struggling with your limbs and whatnot and mental it's a mental thing too, man. You gotta be mentally tough for this. And can you
Right.
imagine if I feed myself constant negativity, how far I'll be pushing myself back? I'm still looking for those 7 years. So speaking negative into myself, that's detrimental for me. I still got things to do. I still have daughters to make sure are good. So there's no time for negative stuff. I don't have time for that at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I will say, I'm just thinking about it. I don't think I've ever met anyone with the same mental toughness and resilience that I've seen you display. And I mean, and that's just being very odd, being very odd.
Ladies and gentlemen, she being nice because normally she's cussing me out.
Only when you deserve it, because yeah, you still have some limitations, but you ain't that different. You be trying to play that card with me and D sometimes. This
It's
condition.
all
I'm
good.
like, okay.
It's
Hmm.
all good. But yeah,
No,
when you're
but yeah.
speaking life, go ahead.
No. I was just it's I we've not necessarily had this conversation in depth, as much depth as we have tonight.
Mm.
So it's just kind of a lot of things are just coming to mind, and I'm just, thinking like you have some real mental toughness. You
I
really do, because
appreciate it.
it could normally break somebody, or they just never even get to a point where they listen to what the what's being diagnosed and spoken over to them by medical professionals, and never move beyond the capacity of the wheelchair, so to speak.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah, it's for me. Like I do certain things, like around the podcast studio. You've seen it here, where I put up quotes all over the place,
Hmm.
where I could see things, and I did all this stuff in the early stages. When I came home, I redid the room, everything, knocked walls down and everything, and put scriptures on the doors and stuff. I needed to
Yep.
see. I needed to see it. I needed to see it. I really needed to see it. And it's very important, man, for you to be visual when you're actually fighting back from an illness or whatever. You got to be visual. You got to see it. You have to see it. Like my favorite scripture is Esther 4:14. It's on. Well, you've seen that. Perhaps this is the moment for which you have been created. I love that passage. I was created for this moment. I was created for this moment to burn that light, blaze that trail so people could find their way. So, where I mean, I've always been a speaker. I started speaking at the age of 5. I was speaking at 5 at like public places,
Mm-hmm.
seminars at 5. But so I'm very comfortable with the stage. Um, but this side of my life is so much sweeter because I'm helping people like me. I'm giving people information like the things that I've gone through, that I continue to go through. That's so rewarding for me. That's so rewarding for me. So all those, I've spoken abroad. I've spoken a lot of places, but it was cool. It was good. Wrote a
Mm-hmm.
lot of books about that stuff. But this phase of my life, this stage of my life, is so much more rewarding because I get to help somebody. I get to move them forward, and I felt that this is my purpose.
Wow. Your
You know,
purpose.
and I
Interesting. Yes.
honestly believe that. I honestly believe that when when I first took on speaking and becoming an author, it was a gift. It's a gift from God that I got. I write these books. I'm not. I didn't go to school for literary works or anything like that. This is me. I'm a writer. I've been writing songs since I was a teenager, professional songs. Um, and the gift that God gave me, I spoke and whatnot, and I stopped that gift in the middle of the height of it. I've had over 100,000 people at a time on my podcast across the world, and I just stopped and I opened up a bar.
Hmm.
I literally just stopped, opened up a bar. I dropped that gift. I dropped the gift,
Hmm.
but I really believe that I was placed in that wheelchair to walk again because that was my true purpose in assisting people and helping people. So I was placed in a wheelchair to walk again. It's a
Hmm.
rewarding feeling, man. It really is.
Wow.
Hey, I see a couple of comments saying we can get back to the conversation. This is good, man. This is real good.
Oh Lord, I didn't even have the look. I was so it's okay. Hey Mark, thanks for joining us. He
What up,
said, "Grand
Slab?
Rising, melanated people, isn't this cozy?" Yes. He says, "Are there candles lit tonight?" Actually, yes, I have two burning. He's like, "My good brother is working out like Kobe Bean. I'm hearing he's a whole snack out here." Yeah, that's what he was
Absolutely.
saying. That's what he says. He says he's a whole snack.
The
He
whole
says he's a
snack
whole
item.
snack in them Louisiana streets these days. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I could say so. No, that's the Sunday night message. We'll talk about that on Sunday.
Yeah, man. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. But and actually what started me to record those videos, because a lot of folks would always tell me, it's like, man, you're in the rehabilitation center. Who has the camera? I say either my nurse or one of the aides who
Mm-hmm.
I just put the camera, I give them the camera and tell them to record me. So I've documented 5 years of tape of me
Right.
doing this thing, man. And I was actually, it was on my off day. I was still in the rehabilitation center, right? So I'm laying in bed. So they come, they get me to get the breakfast, and I had this beautiful view of the Mississippi. And
Mm.
they sit me in a chair because I always wanted to do my writing there, right? So this one hand still worked. So I'm writing and whatnot. And something came to me. It says it's time to start recording so you could show these people. And I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do any of that. So I did my first video having somebody hold the camera, and they started doing it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was still bedridden, having people videotape me doing this stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I was instructed by a higher power to do that, not knowing that I would be back to podcasting, not knowing that I would be back to speaking, talking about nutrition over in France, not knowing I was gonna do all this stuff.
Right.
So I'm just listening to this higher power say, hey, it's time for you to record this stuff. So this is not something that I would love to say that I was the mastermind behind this, but it wasn't me. It
Right.
wasn't me. I was just following instructions. I was just following instructions. So I didn't
So
know that I didn't know I was going to meet you. I didn't know that you were going to encourage me to to go back to podcasting. I didn't know Tammy was going to help me get this thing off the ground. I didn't know. I didn't have none of that stuff in my plan.
And
That
here
wasn't my
we are.
plan at all. Exactly.
So do you think that you'll get back to maybe actually going out on the road and like booking speaking engagements again?
I did one with this nonprofit called Cups Giving Hands. So
Mm-hmm.
I've been to St. Louis and Illinois, but I can't travel as far as flying goes. So like with Cups Giving Hands, they had a sprinter for me and all that stuff. So I was able to, travel in comfort, and I was able to bring Kobe with
Mm-hmm.
me, and that was part of my rider. As far as people don't know about the riders, like when you go to sign on to go and do something to somebody, I submit a rider, and I had in the contract, Kobe had to come with me. He had to be housed. Everything that Kobe has at home, he needs when we're out. So they accommodated me. Cubs Giving Hands over in St. Louis, Missouri. They accommodated. So I've been out there twice. So I plan to do it again, but I just can't fly.
Right.
So
All right, but
I
you may,
think
but we do, but you can make it. You can make it work in other ways, as
absolutely,
as we saw with the last nonprofit that you worked with.
absolutely.
All right, Mr. Williams. It's the man, the author, the overcomer himself.
Oh,
This
that sounds
this
strange.
is
You
a
calling me
very
Mr. Williams. Call me what you normally call me. That sounds so strange.
what wait, I can't say that on here, can I?
No, not that. What you call me on the other what the
You
other
talking about
part?
Mr. Epic?
Boom, there it is.
Oh Lord. I think it was who I think Mark brought that up. That wasn't even the name that I gave you. I would have never thought of that name for you.
Well, that's
Just
what they used to call.
saying.
That's what they used to call me when I was speaking before the
Oh,
Mr.
was
Williams.
it? Okay. I
Yeah.
didn't know. I didn't even know that.
Uh,
All right. Well, I appreciate you asking little old me to come join you tonight for this particular conversation and dialogue. It is a very different setting. I don't think we've done just a show with just the two of us in a while. So
yeah,
this was
it's been a while. And I
yeah,
thought it was important. I thought it was important to bring you on because you were there and you saw this and witnessed this firsthand. So it was important for me to bring you because you saw it. Like you witness it. You know what I'm saying? You assist me in certain areas of my life.
I'm
So
kind of
it's
like
important.
Mary at the tomb of Jesus. I witnessed that the tomb is empty. Now I get to go and tell everybody what I saw.
There you go. There you go. There you go. But the
I'm just,
recovery book, man.
I'm just playing, Lord. I'm just
I know the recovery book, man. It's available at Barnes and Noble, anywhere books are sold, Walmart, everywhere, Amazon, all that stuff, and very informative information, man. Very informative information. It talks about everything from support to having a mindset, the right mindset. Talks about discipline, consistency, because they go hand in hand. Discipline and consistency. Discipline
Mm,
feeds consistency.
yeah.
I'm saying so. Discipline first. It feeds consistency. So I talk about a ton of things, a plethora of things in here, man. And shout out to Tammy Gate out of Memphis who wrote the forward for me. She did a great job. And actually, my editor, the Chicagoan, she's from Chicago, Michelle Kendall. So had a lot of assistance with that. And you know what's so funny and strange about this? The majority of people that assist me during this walk have been women, and I'm grateful. So I'm really grateful.
That's the Romello. That's the little lingering, parts, pieces of Romello there.
Hey, well, it paid off, right? Because
I
you
guess
you women are phenomenal in my life, man. I really
that
appreciate
that
you guys.
that we are. Where would the world be without women?
That's the what. Hey, that's true because I give you guys a hard time, and y'all put up with me because I'm a piece of work. I'm a piece
That
of
you
work.
are. That you are.
Knock it off. So
That
good
you
stuff, man. Good
No,
stuff.
this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate indulging the questions and your transparency and honesty about sharing your journey and your experiences. And you know, what you're where you're at now and what you're still working on. So
Absolutely.
thank you for being open, because I know we've talked about that before, and I'm like, you need to share some of that. So
Exactly.
thank you for
Exactly.
indulging that, and being courageous enough to step out of your comfort zone with that.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. And as always, you guys can catch Shannon on the conversation every single Sunday, streaming 24/7 on Taylor Kennedy TV, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Anywhere you can catch your podcast, we're there. We're over in 175 different countries and regions across the world. And twice a month on Thursdays, I actually do a nutrition edition of the conversation, because health is wealth, with Coach Catherine Gettu, nutritionist coach Catherine Gettu. I've been knowing Catherine Gettu for about 15 years. She's over in France, so we broadcast live to the European market, Africa, East Africa, and all that good stuff. 7 a.m. for me, to the second hour for them. That's 2 p.m. over there, the European time. And I think around 6 in Africa. So we really appreciate all the support across the globe. And you can catch us streaming 24/7 on Taylor Kennedy Media Network. I appreciate you, Shannon Banana. Really appreciate you for coming through. And you were good. You didn't cuss me out. You did real good. Real good. Real good.
I got manners. I got manners.
Yeah, you know how to act. You know how to act mannerable when you want to. So
whatever. We'll see what happens Sunday.
I appreciate the friendship, buddy. I really do. So again, the recovery book, man. Pick it up. It's a very informative information. It means the world to me that I can actually gift this to people with different abilities and help them on their journey. That's the most rewarding thing for me. So,
awesome.
You want to close it out, Shannon?
No, I just want to say thank you to everybody that joined in. Thank you, Mark, for being a part of the conversation tonight. And I look forward to seeing Mr. Epic and everybody else out there in our podcast world coming up this Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central.
Good stuff. You guys be epic.
Conversations with Trent in conjunction with Taylor Kennedy Media and your radio network would like to thank you for calling in and listening to tonight's episode. We hope that tonight's conversation offended you just enough to turn your mirror inward to come back for more. So until next week's conversation, be epic.
God, don't give up on me yet. I know I'm not your best bet, but I'm trying. Don't give up on me yet. Ooh, and God, don't leave me here alone. I know I need to grow still, and I'm trying. Don't leave me here alone. God,
Somebody gon' get to tell him that I'm